on the screen. Go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning.
Hold on 1 minute. We don't have the PowerPoint yet.
Have to share.
All right, now we have it. Please begin.
All right, thank you. Good morning, Chair Bilbe Axelrod, Vice Chair Lang, and the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Education. My name is Jeff Brisky. I am the Director of the Office of Educator Development, Licensure, and Family Engagement at the Department of Education.
And family engagement. You see how he
And
put
here
that
is my
there.
colleague, Kathleen Gallen-Collins, Assistant Director from our office. Thank you for this opportunity to share an overview of educator licensure.
Yeah, let's all hear.
Senate Bill 72 charges this committee with conducting a study, and we are happy to provide this requested information to assist this committee in its work. NDE currently utilizes several recruitment and retention strategies that include equitable pathways and removing barriers, reviewing competency exams, supporting effective induction and professional development, supporting districts to improve working conditions, and promoting educator voice recognition, licensing system improvements, and more transparent workforce data. And these are the items that I will be discussing today. To ensure that we have educators who are highly qualified and safe to work with our students, we do have a lot of specific regulations for not only each license and endorsement area, but also the multiple pathways to obtain those licenses and endorsement areas. And the number of regulations does seem daunting, and I do not have all of them memorized, but they do facilitate and streamline access for people to obtain a license. And we are always listening to our educators and education partners to determine where improvements can be made, as you will see in the next few slides. The Commission on Professional Standards in Education was created in Senate Bill 467 during the 64th legislative session in 1987. And it is the only regulatory body appointed by the governor that sets licensing standards for educational personnel. Regulations adopted by the Commission are sent to the State Board of Education for consideration and approval before they are sent to the Legislative Commission for consideration and final adoption. This slide shows some of the Commission's accomplishments during the last few years, such as allowing required renewal coursework to be satisfied with professional development, review and removal of the Praxis core and renewal requirements for certain occupational licenses, allow any person who is employed as support staff to complete a clinical field experience while remaining employed, and created occupational and physical therapist assistant licenses, as well as requiring a master's level degree to practice speech language pathology in our schools. The current work of the Commission would allow ARL graduates 3 years to complete testing, restore renewal hours to be earned at any time during the licensure period, allow coursework in lieu of basic competency exams, create school psychology and speech language assistant licenses, create a 3-year registered apprentice license, create a STEM endorsement, include technology and the science of reading in early childhood and elementary programming. Again, this work would not be possible without listening and working with our educators and education partners and consistently making those improvements. As required by AB 428, the Commission shall conduct a study concerning the Praxis 2 and pedagogy exams. The department has contracted with our partner West Ed to assist the Commission in conducting this study and present our recommendations to the standing committees on education during the 83rd session. This slide highlights some of Nevada's Grow Your Own and registered apprenticeship programs, as well as pre- and in-service supports that the department administers, including scholarship programs and classroom supply funding. Nevada's pathways to initial certification include pre-preparation with our CTE teacher and training programs, which was expanded with AB 428, traditional and alternative routes, career and technical education, business and industry pathway, and as well as reciprocity. And while we support all of our institutions, I wanted to share a highlight. The Nevada Forward program became a registered apprenticeship program in teaching in 2023, enabling paraprofessionals, substitutes, and other school support staff to earn degrees while maintaining employment. The Paraprofessionals Pathway Project, or PPP, for undergraduates, and the Accelerated Alternative Route to Licensure, AARL, programs comprise the Nevada Forward Apprenticeship Program. Nevada Forward also offers a pre-apprenticeship pathway within the Paraprofessionals Pathway Project for students who need to complete their general ed requirements. The department supports Nevada Forward by administering several federal and state grants, as well as educator preparation and licensing considerations, such as ongoing conversations, ensuring our future educators are prepared for tomorrow's learners in both traditional and competency-based learning pathways, and with the commission's support and regulatory adoption, a registered apprenticeship license that can be used for both pre and in-service employment, as well as during the clinical field experience. The department's webpage has information for the application process as well as current licensure areas. And of note, the department has a specific link for our foreign educators. The visiting foreign educators who are in Nevada on a J1 cultural exchange visa have resources including a checklist and guide for the entire process, transcript requirements and approved translation services, information on reciprocity, and a frequently asked questions section. This summer, as new cohorts arrive, we will have virtual and in-person information sessions, working closely with the employers to guide educators through the initial requirements.
Notice how we're not talking about any data from their ability to move forward with providing services, but they're not demonstrating how those services are affecting the local community. And this is bullshit.
For a regulation to issue a visiting international teaching license as a bridge to get foreign educators into the classrooms equitably without delay. While this temporary regulation was in place, the department did reach out and confirmed with the Philippine Ministry of Education, and more specifically, the Professional Regulation Commission in that country, to determine if their competency exams are comparable to ours. We did receive that confirmation, and we have shared that with employers and educators that their competency exams in that country are comparable to Nevada's exam requirements. So we have not pursued a permanent regulation for that license, as it is not needed anymore.
As it is not needed anymore.
Nevada offers full reciprocity for out-of-state applicants if their license is valid, has a valid credential, and a clear endorsement area, as well as a bachelor's degree. The commission has adopted moving the required parent involvement family engagement course to a licensure renewal requirement as required by Senate Bill 442, which enacted legislation to join the Interstate Teacher Mobility Compact. Nevada was one of the first 10 states to join the compact, and I am serving on that commission to write regulation for that compact. The cost of membership in the compact is yet to be determined and is not currently a line item in the department licensing budget. We do have 6 types of licenses that we issue: conditional, which is more commonly known as ARL licenses; provisional for initial licensees who are missing some coursework or exams.
And I just want to
standard
know who's
professional
working with those
substitute,
children who
and
are
of course,
Title
a
I.
retiree license option.
Right. That one right there.
The initial application steps are to set up an account, upload required documents, pay the fee, and submit. Once submitted, the applicant receives fingerprinting instruction and a list of approved vendors where they can get their fingers printed. The applicant can monitor their application process in 3 main queues. They receive a text or email notification as their applications move through these queues. The first queue is the intake queue, where our licensing technicians review a complete list of applications and ensure that all necessary documents are uploaded and match the name of the applicant. The second queue is our analyst queue, where our licensing analysts evaluate and determine if applicants meet qualifications and eligibility. And the third queue is our background queue, where they receive reports from the Department of Public Safety and the FBI and clear those applications or further investigate if necessary. The background process starts with DPS and FBI as soon as the applicant submits prints and runs simultaneously with the other two queues. The license may be issued by our investigators or our analysts, depending on which unit is the last to clear their portion of the application. The licensure office is completely fee-funded. The average 6-year renewal license is $150 or $25 a year. And this includes the fee for the Department of Public Safety for their processing costs. Licensees start receiving renewal reminders beginning 270 days in advance of their expiration date, and they can also request a 6-month extension, giving them a total of 450 days to renew their license. As mentioned on a previous slide, the Commission has adopted regulation allowing educators to earn their professional development at any time during their licensure period, restoring what was previously available. This slide provides a visual of applications processed over the last 5 calendar years. Total average is over 17,000 applications each year. And you can see there was a dip for initial and renewal applications in 2020 when all licenses were extended during the pandemic. And then there was an uptick in initial applications and renewals the following year near the end of the pandemic. Without any state funds for staffing or overhead, the licensure office supports nearly 61,000 licensed professionals in our system, processes over 14,000 initial and renewal applications, 2,600 additional endorsements. In addition to the processing those applications, and what is not on this slide, during 2023, our technicians processed and responded to more than 27,000 emails, 4,000 voicemails, and processed 15,000 transcripts. Additionally, they served 649 customers in the Carson City lobby and 4,200 customers in the Las Vegas lobby. Our processing times are about 30 days during the summer months, April through September, and about 10 days or less during our winter months, October through March. However, considering the heavy volume, the department is currently processing, I checked this morning, at exactly 21 days. But it's not to say we don't have some one-offs that go beyond 3 weeks. So if anyone is reaching out to you, please forward that email directly to me so that we can address that. We are pleased to say that our request for proposals for a new licensing system is now with state purchasing. Vendor selection is scheduled for this fall, and we did tighten up the requirements for our system to include additional functionality with case and customer service management, an integrated AI-based chatbot to assist with basic questions, data collection and analysis, allowing the tracking of all graduates from graduation to employment, and tracking the effectiveness of programs and supports. Processing improvements will allow for some automated processes and guide workflow management. And I'm going to turn it over to my Kat, as she is closest to this work about our surveys. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen Gallen Collins, for the record. One of the areas in which Nevada is making progress is in the access to high quality real-time data on educator workforce. The educator workforce data dashboard is in development and currently in beta testing with districts. This dashboard will provide real-time information on educator vacancies, class sizes, and student access to qualified teachers. The development of the teacher exit transfer survey was recommended by the Teacher Recruitment and Retention Advisory Task Force, which you will hear from later today. The survey was developed in collaboration with education partners from across the state. Its purpose is to gather data to inform systemic efforts to drive continuous improvement of school, district, and statewide educator retention efforts. We can't address educator shortages without knowing why educators are leaving.
Oh, but we know why.
Decide to
We
stay.
know why, because they've always had
The department is
choice.
working with the American Institutes for Research, AIR, on both the exit transfer and the working conditions survey projects. Currently, there are 9 school districts and 1 charter district that are implementing the exit transfer survey, and AIR continues to work with the other districts to initiate implementation. The Educator Working Conditions Survey is in development with field testing starting right now, actually.
Starting right
The purpose
this
of the
moment.
survey is to gather data to inform systemic efforts to drive continuous improvement of school, district charter, and statewide educator working conditions. The working group identified 8 topics that they felt were important to ask school staff regarding their working conditions, including questions about school facilities and resources, instructional resources and support, staff autonomy, staff leadership, school and district leadership supports, family supports and involvement, workload, and salary and benefits. The information gathered in the working conditions survey will be able to be linked to the exit transfer survey, allowing for the potential to possibly connect specific working
Potential.
conditions with reasons for leaving while maintaining educator confidentiality. This link is vital if we wish to address working conditions in a way that helps educators decide to stay. The existing school climate survey includes a staff component that asks questions about staff perception of the school climate and student safety. This is vital information to gather and to have a more complete view of educator perceptions. The working conditions and staff climate surveys will complement each other. They will be administrated in alternating years to ensure educators are not overburdened with surveys. It is important to note that the climate survey refers to overall atmosphere of a workplace. Working conditions refers to the working environment and aspects of an employee's terms and conditions of employment. It covers such matters as organization of work, workload, work-life balance, compensation, and access to resources. Together, these sources of information can provide a more holistic view on which to base decisions regarding resources, policies, and supports.
Thank you, Jeff Brisky, NDE for the record. Thank you again for this opportunity, and we are available for questions.
Thank you. And we're going to put questions off to the end for the committee, but I will say I am looking forward to seeing those exit interviews. And I know that I've been personally in contact with Department of Education to make sure that we're capturing if these are homegrown teachers who are leaving. We've talked a lot about the fact that we know anecdotally just from talking to principals that it seems like when we're recruiting from out of state, teachers will stay for a few years and then for whatever reason go back home to their home state, whether they want to start a family or whatever. So I think that we're going to see that information about homegrown, keeping our teachers here in Nevada, and starting that pipeline process early. So I'm excited to see that information and make sure that these incredible pipeline opportunities that we're doing for our kids of Nevada are going to be working. So thank you. And we might have some questions for you, but we'll move on and do that at the end. Okay, so next we have Stephanie Huey, Superintendent of Mineral County School District, to speak about Mineral County's experience with the J-1 visa program. I think you are online via Zoom. Great. Definitely wanted to get the perspective of one of our rural counties who are taking advantage of these J-1 visas. So please go ahead when ready.
Thank you. Stephanie Huey for the record, Mineral County Superintendent. With me is Claire Hayhurst for the record.
And I am the school principal and I am mentoring the J-1 visa teachers in our district.
So Mineral County is entering our 4th year of hiring J-1 visa teachers. During those 4 years, we experienced a lot of challenges in learning how to best support our J-1 visa teachers and avoid agency fees, avoid costs that they really don't need to pay. So we've been fortunate enough to have Ms. Hayhurst, who's from the Philippines. She fully understands the process. And over the 4 years, we've really fine-tuned and created a position within our district who mentors our teachers and helps them through the process that agencies would. We're able to do. We're really excited about the diversity that it brings to our district. Mineral County is a rural district, very small population, less than 500 students. So bringing in the diversity and the cultural exchange has been amazing for our students and our staff, as well as our community. And working through this process, I just want all of you to know we were able to hire small number of teachers because we are a small district, 5 teachers this year, and they did not have to use an agent They did still have to have a sponsor. They didn't have to use an agent because Ms. Hayhurst was working so closely with them and helped them learn how to work with the system to support our J1 visa teachers to help reduce the fees that they pay. Right now, Mineral County School District has 25% of our teachers who are J1 visa teachers. We currently only have 2 vacancies in our district, thanks to the J1 visa teacher exchange. I would like to have Claire Hayhurst.
Yeah, so this is Claire Havers for the record. First of all, I would like to acknowledge and recognize the effort of our Department of Licensure, Mr. Brisky. And thank you so much for helping our J1 visa teachers to reciprocate their licenses. Mr. Brisky and I had few meetings to have this figured out, and this really helped our J1 visa teachers. And this also make our teachers feel like they are. So thank you. So in our district, because although we learned a lot with this process, and because of the limitations or cap of how many J1 visa teachers we can hire in each school, so now we are also looking at having our district to be a sponsor. Way we have less cost for our teachers who are going to be working in our district. Yeah.
So again, Stephanie Huey for the record. I just really want to thank you for hearing us today. Please know the importance and value that our J1 visa teachers bring to Mineral County School District. We would not be able to operate if we did not have our teachers from the J1 process. Now that we're moving forward to become our own sponsor as an H1B, we look forward to expanding our applicants and seeing what more diversity we can put into the program and reduce the fees for our staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. And it's exciting to hear that you guys only have 2 vacancies. That's right. Yeah, great spot. So thank you for your testimony. Next, we will have Assemblywoman Mosca. Please come to the table and give us her unique perspective about her research and give us some recommendations about how we can promote and hopefully change legislatively to make it easier for J1 visas in Nevada. So please go ahead when ready. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Chair Bilbray Axelrod, as well as members of the committee. We're so excited to be here today and really just share the community perspective. I know you're going to continue to hear from others who work in this. So we really just wanted to share our community feedback, what previous legislation has done, and then hear from Ms. Casino here, who is a current Clark County School District teacher in her 2nd year of the J1 program, and then do questions at the end, as you had said before. And so I'm very proud to be the first Filipina to ever represent in the state of Nevada. And part of that has meant really going out to community events and hearing from folks and trying to understand what are the issues on the ground. And it's been so interesting that whether it's at a film festival on the left, in the middle was an East Las Vegas listening session, had nothing to do, with the Filipino community or education. Or on the right was a holiday party, that no matter what event I seem to go to, people really like to tell me about the J1 issues and how much they love their J1 teachers. And I think they see, I was born in the United States, so my dad is an immigrant from the Philippines. I really appreciate that people have been able to see me as someone that they can share this issue with. And so I wanted to share that it is the number one thing that people actually talk to me about. And even last week, I was at an AAPI Small Business Roundtable with the Acting Secretary of Labor, and it was an issue that the business owners actually brought up. I'm, of course, a former educator, very proud to be a former Clark County School District teacher. What is so crazy is Ms. Casino teaches at Goldfarb Elementary School, where I was a teacher 16 years ago. She teaches in the same grade level that I taught at. And part of Goldfarb Elementary School in East Las Vegas, Title I school, is it's so hard to get teachers. And so I did an alternative route to licensure program, which got me there. And she's in the J1 program that got her there to make sure that there are teachers for our students. And so Mr. Laurel on the left has written a lot of op-eds at the Nevada Independent. And so I had read them and reached out to him to hear his thoughts. In the middle is from this past session of just teachers who have come up with CCEA to talk about the issue and how much they believe in it. And on the right is actually Ms. Fernandez, who's one of the only Filipino principals in the Clark County School District and just happens to be the principal at Goldfarb Elementary School. So this is an issue that I know pretty well. I would also say yesterday I just happened to be at a roundtable with principals and assistant principals, just talking about their issues. I didn't bring up J1, and it was something that they brought up on their own. So it's something as a community legislators, I'm just really excited to make sure that people have a voice and can share the issues that they're facing. And so last session, we did have two bills. Senator Flores sponsored SB 308, happened to be the same number. I sponsored AB 308. And we were just trying to figure out what could solutions look like. We had a bill that would cap the agency fees. So you hear a lot about these agency fees. That means a teacher would pay somebody to help them get over here. Some agencies charge $5,000. Some agencies charge $30,000. So what we hear from teachers is they make their money here in the United States. That's US dollars they have to pay. They don't have $30,000 US dollars. So they take out a loan from the agency. So by the time they get back to the Philippines, they actually owe more money than they actually made in their 5 years as teachers. So that's a big issue we've heard from people. The second thing is, and I really appreciate Mr. Brisky talking about the new items they're going to be doing at NDE. There has been no specialized orientation or onboarding processes at a state level previously. This is a picture of a nonprofit called FAME that a Filipino teacher at CCSD started as just a way that at the beginning of the school year, people get together to bring clothes and food and welcome new folks to the United States. And so I think that would be great if we could figure out how, as a state, which I can see there's already work being done. And so grateful to this committee as well, because in that bill, it had the study, which we're doing right now, which I really appreciate. And then finally, in Senator Flores's bill, he talked a lot about PERS, which we're going to hear about later, because the teachers do typically teach 5 years, so should be vested in some way, but are not vested. But that's not an issue I understand as much, so I'm excited that PERS will share today. So with that, I'm gonna kick it over to Ms. Casino to just share from a teacher perspective what it's like being a J1 teacher here in Southern Nevada.
Thank you. My name is Jemima Cancino, for the record. I stand before you today as a J1 teacher who has had the privilege of experiencing firsthand the transformative power of the J1 program. Back in the Philippines, I dedicated myself and my several years to teaching students from 1st to 6th grade. My passion for education and my desire to broaden my horizon brought me to the United States, where I have been very fortunate to contribute to the educational landscape of your great nation. The J1 program has been an invaluable opportunity for me to learn from the American educational system while sharing my own unique perspective and experiences from the Philippines. This cultural exchange has been enriching for both myself and my students. I am deeply grateful for the supportive environment that I have found within the Clark County School District. At the school where I am currently teaching, I am very lucky to have an administration and staff who have welcomed me and the other 5 newly hired J1 teachers warmly and provided unwavering support throughout our journey. My mentor / instructional coach has gone above and beyond to guide me not only in the classroom, but also in navigating life here in the US. The CCSD New Teacher Program, particularly the ARL, where we are partnered with mentor or another teacher, where we are teaching, gave us a lot of support as well. There is another program also from CCSD, the New Teacher Pathway. It is a session monthly, which really also has been instrumental in my professional growth and equipped me with the tools and the confidence to excel in my role as a teacher. Throughout exposure to US teaching methods and curriculum, I've gained new ways to manage classrooms, techniques, and technology integration skills. This experience has significantly boosted my assurance, self-assurance, and sense of accomplishment as an educator. Beyond professional growth, the J1 program has allowed me to enhance also my English proficiency, develop leadership skills, and contribute actively to my school community. I am honored to have been selected as a grade level leader for this upcoming school year and have had the opportunity to serve as an MC for various school events. Moreover, the competitive salary and benefits offered by CCSD have provided me with financial stability, enabling me to support a little my family and back home and save for my future gradually. The opportunity to experience American culture and also to travel within the United States has also been enriching personal experience for me. While my time here has been invaluable, I love my kids, I love where I teach. I believe there are areas where the J1 program can be improved to better support participants like myself. One significant challenge that I encountered was the timing of my arrival. My agency advised me to arrive on July 28th last year, but the school district requiring us to to report on the school we are assigned on July 26th. This discrepancy caused delays in obtaining necessary credentials like my social security number and also my teaching license, which was the reason why we couldn't go to our assigned school even if we are here already in the United States or Nevada. Furthermore, the financial burden placed on J1 teachers is substantial. Please allow me to just give you quickly and enumerate all the fees that we have paid.
Please enumerate.
Firstly is the agency fees, which cost us $5,000. The administrative fee for extension of program for upcoming academic year, and this is yearly. This is payable to our visa sponsor. This is yearly $1,500 yearly. The insurance fee that we've been paying every month is $55. The airfare cost us $2,000 as well to just get in here. And even upfront housing payments. We've paid 2 months payment even before we step our foot here in Nevada. We've paid already 2 months in advance. That cost us $1,410, and that created a significant financial strain. Many of us is still struggling with this debt until now. Even once we go back, we still owe a debt. As well as the carpool or Uber situation, that is also one of my problem. The host family that arranged by my agency was also the one giving us a ride. They charge us same full amount even if 3 people in the car. So for example, my payment is $175 per month. That also the payment of my other 2 co-teachers each month.
Wow.
Beyond financial challenges, the uncertainty about extending the stay beyond 5 years is causing us a lot of anxiety. Although some J1 teachers have managed to extend their program successfully, there is confusion and stress due to unclear eligibility criteria in the process. By addressing these issues, we have encountered and can create an environment where J1 teachers can thrive and contribute fully to American society. Thank you for your consideration and time.
Thank you so much for sharing your community perspective and being here today. We really appreciate it. And so we we're not sure what possible solutions are, but we know maybe some type of standard operating procedures determined by the state, so everybody feels like it's equitable. They know when they're coming, when they're leaving. And I'll put on the record some questions that my colleagues may have. Under a J1 visa, it's a cultural visa, so you're only here for 5 years. A lot of folks want to extend once they're here, but under a J1 legally, you can't extend. So some places around this country, whether it's Houston, Dallas, California, they've become H1B visa sponsors, which is a different sponsor that allows folks to stay. And I hear a lot that this is a federal issue. That's something that every time I bring it up, but we've seen throughout the country that other states have tried to figure out a solution because it's a problem that we do need teachers. The Philippines is not the only country that folks can come from. They can come from any country that is part of the program. It's just here in Nevada, the Philippines is the largest one. And in Nevada, there are total 117 sponsors for not J1s, but 117 sponsors in general, not just for teachers. There are 9 agencies for teachers. There are 2,072 total participants as of 2022, and 176 are teachers. And so the third thing is, a lot of people always say, you know, how can we help our federal delegation get support when we know that this is a pipeline issue? And also wanted to thank Mrs. Sansan, who's here, who was also my mentor teacher when I was at Goldfarb, and is Ms. Casino's mentor teacher, still there teaching for our students. So we will be here. We'll stay the time if we have questions later. And we thank you so much for hearing this item.
Thank you very much. And Goldfarb will always have a place near and dear to my heart because my sister Bridget opened as principal Goldfarb Elementary back in the day. So thank you. Next, we will have Tina Leese, Executive Officer of Public Employees Retirement System, otherwise known as PERS, to speak about the J1 visa program in relationship to retirement. I probably pronounced I said Lease, I think it's Liz.
Thank you.
Apologize. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I'm Tina Liss. I'm the Executive Officer of the Public Employees Retirement System. So I'm not going to go through a full briefing on the retirement system. And so hopefully I will give you enough background to understand, I think, what the issues were that Senator Flores was looking at in Senate Bill 308 from last session. So Nevada PERS is a constitutionally created trust fund for the retirement of all public employees in the state of Nevada. And we are what we call a multiple employer cost sharing defined benefit pension plan. And what that means is that we have all of the public employers in the state, your school districts, your cities, your counties. We have mosquito districts, police, fire. So we have everybody in our system and we're cost sharing, which means that all of the employers and the employees have the same benefit structure and they pay the same contribution rate. If they're in the regular fund, all the regular fund members have the same contribution benefit structure. And then we have the police fire fund. And that's important to our structure because then we have the cost sharing because we're not the biggest state. And so that helps with the funding to have the cost sharing amongst all our public employers so that your small public employers can equally participate. And it's also very important because this gives us portability amongst all public employers. So our public employees can freely move between public employers in the state of Nevada. So with that that background of what we are, our mission from the legislature is to essentially provide a reasonable base income to the public employees of the state of Nevada and to help our employers attract and retain public employees. And so we are somewhat focused clearly on retaining those employees. So the benefit structure is more focused towards your longer term public employees. The benefits are based on a statutory formula with a lifetime benefit. And what I think is important, I think, for this discussion is the fact that we have 5-year vesting. So unless you have 5 years of service credit, you will not be vested in a retirement benefit down the line when you have reached age eligibility for that. The other thing I think that's important about our system in this discussion is the fact that we have 2 different ways that you can contribute to the system. One is what we call the employer pay plan. And what that is the employee takes a reduction in salary for their portion of the contribution rate, which means they technically do not have refundable contributions. And the other way to contribute is the employee employer pay plan, where the employee's half is contributed after tax to the system. And then when they leave, they do have the option of refunding those employee contributions. So we have some employers that are what we call mandatory employer pay, which means the employees are required to participate under the plan where there are no refundable employee contributions. Each of our school districts for their teaching personnel are mandatory employer pay. So what that means for not just J1 teachers, but for every employee, our licensed employees of the school districts, is that if they do not vest with 5 years and do not vest with the ability to have a lifetime benefit, then there will be no refundable contributions. They also, of course, our public employees are not enrolled in Social Security. So there's no Social Security. And of course, Social Security requires 40 quarters for eligibility there. So being in Social Security really, I don't believe would be helpful there either. But that's true of all of our employees. So anyone that works for a school district as a teacher, if they do not achieve 5 years of school district, will not have a retirement benefit vested and will not have refundable employee contributions, will not have been enrolled in Social Security. So that is an issue amongst all teachers. So with SB 308, the original, I believe, originally that it was proposed would have allowed teachers to enroll in the employer pay plan. And that was a little problematic from our perspective because all our benefit structure is uniform. So it's very important, potentially from an internal revenue code perspective, and also from the fact that everyone pays the same contribution rate, that we keep the provisions uniform. So instance, if the legislature would like to make a change to our eligibility to assist in this area, it really, from our perspective, would need to be universal to all of our, all of the members in the regular fund. And we do have 99,000 regular members currently in the regular fund, spread across all the public employers. So that's really the way that we see the issue, is the fact that it's very difficult, I believe, for the J1 visa teacher to vest with that 5 years. However, if they do teach a full 5 years, they should hit the minimum threshold, which then would entitle them to a benefit at age 65. Now, that could also be a little problematic for them to then be able to submit all the paperwork to us once they hit the age 65 for the eligibility for that benefit. I believe that kind of outlines the issues I think that we're trying to be addressed in SB 308 as far as PERS goes. I know I kind of went through it very quickly, and I hope that makes sense. And it was kind of what you were looking for. If not, of course, I'll be available for questions when you hit that area.
I knew it was all about the benefits.
Thank you. I'm sure we will have some.
They don't have
questions,
no
so
data.
Thank you for being here.
That they're doing
We
a
have
good
one
job.
last presentation. Do we? Are they here? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. We have two more. I apologize. Moving forward, we have Grant Hannibal with the Public Education Foundation to speak more generally about teacher licensure. There's someone here. Okay.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. It's an honor to be here. My name is Grant Hannibal. I'm the Chief Education Officer with the Public Education Foundation. I'm honored to be here today to talk about some general overview of the programming we offer at the Public Ed Foundation, and more specifically, some of the work I've done with our homegrown initiative to bring teachers in and talk about some of the potential barriers that have really created some issues for our local teachers.
Yeah, let's talk
I want
about
to
it.
preface my introduction by just saying I've been with the Public Ed Foundation for 4 years. Prior to my work at the Public Ed, I did spend 30 years with the Clark County School District. And in that capacity, I was a teacher, I was an assistant principal, I was a principal at 3 schools. I was a school associate superintendent and I retired as Region 1 superintendent. So I feel I have a pretty comprehensive overview and institutional knowledge of what's happening in our local schools. Lose my presentation?
We don't see it yet, but hold on. Well, don't begin until I tell you we have it.
I saw it originally and then it disappeared when I,
We have technical help coming.
I apologize for breaking your system. There it is. Just the right arrow, right? There we go.
We
All
don't
right.
see it yet. Hold on.
Do Control L.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, and just you want to maximize that screen. Control. Control L. Perfect.
Go. All right. Sounds like a joke. How many people does it take to fix this? But the vision of the Public Ed Foundation, we really stand as a community united to assist the education and the students and the families in the Clark County School District. And our mission is obviously to address the most critical needs. And I know it says on here that we work solely with the Clark County School District, but that's actually not entirely true. We do service a lot of teachers, a lot of new teachers, and a lot of students from across the entire state. What we do as a Public Ed Foundation, I'm going to give just a general overview, and the last item on this slide is the one I'm going to talk about most specifically, but just some general background information. Our Scholarships Plus program gave out over $6.7 million in scholarships this last school year to over 1,000 students. We have a teacher superstore, the PEF Teacher Superstore, where we provide free and low-cost supplies to teachers. And last year, we distributed over $1 million in supplies. A new initiative last year was the Book Bus. In collaboration with the Clark County School District, there is now a book bus that travels to local schools and childcare centers. And last year, this previous year, we distributed over 100,000 books. We're also helping to lead the community's response to chronic absenteeism by spearheading the Go to Grow Coalition, and that is housed at the NevadaFamily.org website.
Mhm.
And lastly, the Teacher Fast Track. This is what addresses our teacher shortage. This is what I've been working with specifically to help paraprofessionals and guest teachers who dream of becoming teachers, and also helping to retain those who go through alternative programming through some of our local universities. An overview of Teacher Fast Track. The Clark County School District, as we know, and really it's a nationwide issue now, but the Clark County School District specifically has really not been fully staffed the first day of school since 1994.
That's not
We also know that the teacher shortage has the greatest impact on our underserved and
because they've
underreached
not done the work.
communities.
And
And
there's
these
no
communities-
reason for the underserved to be
As high-
unserved simply because they're the ones that are generating
They are
the
likely
funding.
to be the ones with the highest
Pissing
numbers
me
of
off.
vacancies. We also know that we have amazing paraprofessionals and guest teachers that work in our local schools. Many of them have given years, if not decades, of service to our schools and our families and our students. Yet we know they make an average of about $22,000 annually. We believe it's imperative that we provide some upward mobility and options for these folks to earn their teaching certification and stay with our kids in Nevada. And we also know that it's critical that we do something to retain the teachers we have. I think it was mentioned earlier in the meeting that many of our teachers come here for 2 or 3 years and then they leave.
Well, that's how
Yeah, we
you're
have
set up. Because your
assist
original
our
teachers, your strong
getting
teachers
into the
get to
system,
choose
and
where
then
they.
B, provide that
Nobody else does.
sustained support that they will in fact remain employed with the
We're gonna find it out.
Nevada.
It's coming.
Bottom line is we need to remove barriers.
The truth will set you free.
There are 3 basically programs that we work with
Mhm.
under Teacher Fast Track. The first one is Teacher Fast Track Recruit. Our foundation recruits future teachers and provides apprenticeship support.
Mhm.
We identify current school employees, our paraprofessionals, and we help them earn the prerequisite credits that they need to enter UNLV's PPP program. We provide stipends to cover all of the ancillary costs associated. We provide mentorship. Each of these folks going through the Rebel Start Academy, earning their 0 to 60 credits, we provide them a teacher, a veteran teacher mentor. We provide scholarships. We provide funding for books and technology.
The issue is
and
we
provide
don't
them with
know
free
the
resources
benefit
so they
of
can
going through
pass,
this
study, and
teacher
pass
fast track
the
program. It's
classes
not helping
required
the
that
kids in poverty.
require All new teachers.
Mhm.
We started 2 years ago. We had 63. It grew to 101 by the end of that first year. 45 will be teachers in our district next year. Last year, we started with 150. Many of them have already moved on to the PPP program, and we anticipate this year opening our orientation next month with 250 candidates in the program.
Yeah, they anticipate.
Our Teacher Fast Track Retain is aimed at providing support for the first 3 years for all of the graduates from UNLV's PPP and AARL programs. We provide them with Bridge Out Professional Development. We've done that over the last 2
How's it
Saturdays.
working for
They
you?
transition
It's
from
not working
graduate to
for
teacher.
us.
We have one more session this Saturday. We also help them with some programming called Guides on Demand. And Guides on Demand is essentially any teacher from this program
Mhm.
can click on a calendar link and request
Mhm.
assistance, and within 24 hours, we
Yeah,
will deploy a
Within
teacher to meet
24
with them
hours.
to basically walk
Mhm.
them through any issues or concerns they may have. We also provide them with free resources to study for and pass the Praxis Core. And I keep talking about that because I will wrap up my
Please do,
my presentation today, talking more specifically about the Praxis Core.
because it's just you.
During the 23-24 school year, we worked with over 200, and we expect to be working with over 450 teachers this year.
Want some
Most of our
kudos for what you're doing, though.
And really fitting for today, I didn't know we were going to be talking as much about J1, but an inaugural program for us this year is the Teacher Fast Track Exchange. And we are going to utilize our resources to help retain the teachers who work in CCSD as part of the J1 Cultural Exchange Program. We will provide the same retain information that we do for our other teachers, the online library of tools cultivated for new teachers. We will also provide a mentor specifically for them. These mentors will be 4th and 5th year J1 visa teachers.
Fourth and fifth,
And then we will be linking our cultural exchange
the ones
teachers
right before they have to go.
with experience guides on demand as needed. And like I said, we'll be working with 133 teachers for this inaugural 24-25.
It just doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, it's not.
This is a barrier. I've talked about a lot of the programs that we do and a lot of the support we provide to our teachers. I can tell you that we face a lot of obstacles, none more, in my opinion, than the Praxis Core. In late 2022 and early 2023, the Department of Ed created a work group and was charged with reviewing statutes, gathering information, researching the Praxis Core, drafting regulations.
Yeah.
I was honored to serve on this committee
Were you really?
and really work with the Department of Ed to see what we could do to alleviate some of the issues around the Praxis Core. And I think we did really, really good work, but I want to share some data and research around the Praxis Core.
Praxis.
I'll share a few slides of research and I'll go through it relatively quickly, but essentially in both math and ELA, the difference between those who pass and those who fail is negative. The difference is not statistically significant. It essentially means the Praxis 1 is screening out some individuals who may be ineffective, but it is also screening out some potentially effective teachers. And I can tell you anecdotally, as a former principal at 3 different schools, I've met with countless teachers who've had that piece of paper from the Department of Ed saying they're not qualified to teach because they did not pass the Praxis Core. And I can tell you, that many of those teachers were significantly better than other teachers who may have passed the Praxis Core. So I've also worked with many of our paraprofessionals who are looking to earn their teacher certification. And I think we need to be aware of the fact that many of these people are entering the profession 10, 15, 20 years into their careers. And they haven't taken Algebra 1 or geometry since they were in high school. And many of the the competency questions on the Praxis core revolve around some of those really Algebra 1 geometry tasks. More data. Tests are a good predictor of one thing, performance on standardized tests. They have not found strong evidence to support a relationship between test taker performance and teacher performance. On the bottom of this slide is really the one I find the most alarming. This one was a study of over 75,000 test takers over 4 years, and it found that when you compare first-time pass rate for white test takers and African-American test takers, the whites were achieving at 80% and the blacks were achieving at 40%. We've known this a couple of decades, that this test is potentially racially biased, and we continue to allow it to prevent diverse teachers from entering our profession. In 2005, no difference between the effectiveness of teachers who have not passed the state's licensure exam. I love this bottom information on the slide. Currently, there's 20 states that do not require a basic skills test to obtain teacher certification. 4 of those states are ranked in the top 10 nationally. 4 of the states that do not require a basic skills test border Nevada: Arizona, Utah, Idaho, and Oregon. Other states require the Praxis 2, which I'm not talking about Praxis 2. I think that's a valid test. But
Every
not-
state gets to choose their own testing.
The results
thing.
of that work group are commendable.
Mhm.
They did reduce the cut score by 1 standard error of measurement, and I think that did remove barriers for some folks. So I think that was absolutely a step in the right direction. Furthermore, they included the SAT and the ACT as an optional test to demonstrate competency. And I know that the state is in the process of designing alternative coursework that you could take in lieu of the Praxis, and I commend all of those efforts.
He commends all of those
And
efforts
my final thoughts are this: that Nevada's on an island when it comes to the Praxis.
by itself.
States to the north, the east, and the south do not require the Praxis at all, while
Right.
California to the west allows alternative means to show competency.
Mhm.
Given the crisis we face when it comes to teacher recruitment and retention, and the evidence that confirms little correlation, if any, to teacher effectiveness, and
Right.
the evidence that suggests the test disqualifies a disproportionate number of people of color,
Mhm.
there's literally no plausible reason as to why we would leave the Praxis requirement as is. So I implore you to
Literally no
consider that
reason why to leave it.
of the Nevada Department of Education for trying to help us through this.
Mhm.
And maybe one last final thought.
Maybe,
I'll
perhaps.
share one more thing because it hit me as I was chatting.
Mhm.
We've moved the finish line for completion of the Praxis core to after 3 years of teaching. It used to be you took the Praxis core before you earned your degree. Now you can earn your degree and you can wait 3 years to complete the competency test. And this has been a recent change. And I'm very concerned that over the course of the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to have many, many teachers who have delayed taking the Praxis core until their 3rd year of licensure, and they're going to run into a wall. And we're going to see a real
You should
cliff
just end
in the
it.
near future. So
Yeah, right.
just something to be aware of.
Yeah, because you're at the
Thank you.
bottom.
We are gonna do questions after,
It's
but I
something to
just
be
would
aware of, 'cause you're
remind
at the
you
bottom.
and other people who
We
are
also
there in the
face,
room or watching that
it's
we
not
are
so often
taking
when people are not-
recommendations for
especially
bill
people-
drafts. So if that's something that you are interested in, it seems you're quite passionate about, please get with folks and get a recommendation in. So
Mhm.
thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Okay, and CCSD has arrived. Thank you all. for
CCSD has
being here.
arrived
We
in
had
the
a
house.
DEC meeting this morning, so
Mhm.
racing down the 15. Thank you for getting here safely. Finally, we have Roanne Triana from CCSD coming to speak about their J1 visa program. So
Mhm.
it cooled off and thank you for being here. So the microphone will, the green ring will come on when it's ready for you. So begin when ready.
All right, and then you have the presentation.
It is not. It's on the computer, so we will look at our Assemblywoman Mosca coming up to help out, jack of all trades.
Mhm.
Fantastic. For your help. It's not, oh, there it is.
Okay,
Begin when ready.
thank you again for your patience. Madam Chair, members of this committee, Roanne Triana, Chief Human Resources Officer for the Clark County School District. Super appreciate your patience as I catch my breath. And I also forgot my glasses in the car.
I know what's like not have glasses. Do you need?
I'm good.
You're good. Okay.
Luckily, I printed it on 18 font. Okay, so the purpose of the program is to provide cultural exchange teachers with opportunities to serve as a classroom teacher and to participate in the educational and cultural programs in the United States, and then return home and share about their experiences in alignment with the Code of Federal Regulations. These teachers are experienced, and some have advanced degrees and are able to share their expertise in elementary, STEM, secondary core.
Well, how's it
and
working for you?
special
Because it's
education
not working
classrooms.
for us.
Learners are provided with a licensed and experienced teacher. Also, our students get to engage with a diverse educator who brings with them a wealth of knowledge to broaden students' exposure with teachers from other countries and cultures. In addition, students get to participate in various cultural experiences provided by the J1 visa educators as well. Visa eligibility is determined by the Code of Federal Regulations. This includes having 2 years of teaching experience, currently teaching full-time in their home country, having a bachelor's degree in education or applicable academic field, and the ability to get licensed in Nevada, and also being of good reputation and character. The J1 visa program is a 3-year program, but the teacher can request up to 2 additional years, so for a maximum of 5 years. The teacher can also return to the US after a required 2-year stay in their home country, therefore a possible second opportunity to join us for 3 to 5 years.
Mhm. And I don't know how
CTSD works with multiple
they're
approved
working to
sponsorship
make this
organizations who will
A1
determine
visa
the
program
number
work,
of
but guess
allowable
what?
visas for the
We don't
district.
know how it's working.
This
So
number will
it's
change
as
during
it's
the
not.
course of the hiring cycle and from year to year
Mhm.
based on hiring in other states.
Yeah, based on hiring.
Candidate sourcing includes direct contacts with CCSD, sponsorship organizations, and recruitment agencies. In 2021, Nevada was ranked the 16th top destination of choice for J1 teachers. The most recent ranking from the 22-23 school year indicates that Nevada is now the 9th most popular destination. As you can see here are the hiring trends within the Clark County School District going back to 2019. We had 62 teachers hired and 1 country represented. Moving along the line, as you can see, we are projected to have 175 teachers hired in the fall. And now we have representation from 7 countries, being Philippines, Kenya, Belize, Jamaica, India, Portugal, and Colombia. An opportunity for growth is to attract more special education teachers. Very few of our J1 candidates applied for these positions. And one of the barriers, as you heard earlier, was the praxis requirement. Recently, in collaboration with the Nevada Department of Education, it was decided that the Professional Regulatory Commission exam, the PRC exam, would be accepted in lieu of the praxis exam. To further increase the number of special education candidates, funding for the interim route to certification, the IRC, would result in increased interest among our cultural exchange candidates. Another opportunity for development is to provide our teachers with additional support throughout the year. Teachers can face difficulties adjusting to a classroom in the United States. Feedback from principals indicate that classroom management is the main concern. Teachers also report that classroom and behavior management is their greatest challenge. To address these barriers, we've developed a J1 mentorship program in collaboration with the Public Education Foundation. We created a J1 orientation initiative for all of our new J1 teachers. And we also have now a dedicated office for the J1 visa program. This dedicated office serves as the liaison between human resources, sponsors, principals, teachers, and the Nevada Department of Education. We're developing meetings, a regular cadence of meetings quarterly with the Public Education Foundation as part of a mentorship program, and to also increase our networking opportunities. We also will be considering bringing the candidates into the United States 1 month earlier for professional development opportunities and to help assist with their transition into the country. Each sponsor has different placement criteria. Some will only allow teachers to be placed at schools rated 3 stars or above. The Code of Federal Regulation requires the school only to be accredited. We have reduced our dependence on sponsors with restrictive placement criteria. And we've added new sponsors with more flexible requirements. We've utilized referrals from current teachers. Word of mouth has been super effective with our teacher population. And the system-wide accreditation through Cognia will allow more flexibility for teacher placement. Currently, we are exploring the possibility of also becoming a designated sponsor.
Bet you are.
Reducing direct cost to teachers would be more appealing when recruiting candidates. Sponsor fees and insurance can cost upwards to the tune of $12,000 or a 5-year period. Many school districts do cover a portion of the cost. We've accepted self-placement visa candidates. These individuals already have established resources in Nevada and don't need the assistance of a full placement sponsor. We're researching low-cost nonprofit sponsors, and we've eliminated the requirement that requires candidates to use a recruitment agency, and therefore reducing our reliance on these agencies, resulting in a reduced cost to the teachers. Again, moving forward, my apologies. Moving forward, we'd like to explore the possibility of obtaining funding for all or a portion of the sponsor fees, and as stated earlier, becoming a designated sponsor. Reducing the time it takes for candidates to apply for their Nevada teaching license and ensuring that they have adequate professional learning prior to day 1 with our students are other areas that we can ensure success for the program. Teachers can arrive up to 30 days before the start of the school year. This is often not enough time to be issued a Nevada teaching license prior to day 1 with our kids. Some teachers are not able to arrive in the United States until late July and or early August. So what we do to remedy this, currently we coordinate with substitute services to ensure classroom coverage for day 1 and until the teacher is properly licensed. Moving forward, we'd like to explore the possibility of changing the program start date to June 15th. This would require a supplemental contract for new J1 visa teachers. Another game changer would be to allow teachers to apply for a Nevada teaching license without a Social Security number. This would enable candidates to apply while in their home country and would allow for quicker licensing opportunities and processing, and allow them to arrive to the United States with a teaching license in hand. So while the Clark County School District's J1 visa program continues to grow in both numbers and diversity, additional changes and enhancement can position the Clark County School District and Nevada to be the destination of choice.
If you have some data that demonstrates that
barriers for teachers related to cost, licensing, and classroom support are necessary steps to compete with other districts across this great country. And with your permission, Madam Chair, I would like to introduce Debbie Schwartz. She is our international recruiter and oversees the program directly. She interacts with every single one of our candidates. I would like to invite her up to the dais with your permission for specific questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. So did you have presentation or just here in case there's questions? Okay, well then I will have you step back for a moment and we will open it up to our committee for, we waited for questions till the very end. So I guess we could probably start. Do we have questions for CCSD? we'll start with Senator John Darrell Loop. So sorry.
I just
Musical
gotta know
chairs,
how
come
it's
back up.
working for you, because it's not working for us.
All right. Okay, so Senator, please.
Thank you very much. I guess you might have answered my question, but there was a couple questions that I thought about with even referencing back to Mineral County, who has become their sponsor agency. And so I was kind of wondering why Clark County hadn't done that. And then when you just added that having them apply without their social security number, it seems to me, and I'm no HR whiz, but it seems to me that they could fill out their application and then we could start sort of adding those things at the bottom rather than adding those things at the top. And so I was wondering if there was any flexibility there. You may have answered that question, but if you could go over it again, thank you.
For the record, Roanne Triana. I love that suggestion. The more we can do to expedite that social security number on the application and to get that license in hand, we are willing to do whatever it takes to do that. Just want to make sure that we work in collaboration with, the state requirements. Did I answer that question?
Yes, I think it's probably a work in progress, which is how we are with all of this.
And then you asked another question about why we hadn't considered becoming a sponsor before. I'm new on the job, 4 months in. And so one of the questions, because I ask at least 1,000 questions a day about why do we do it this way? What does this mean? What is this? And these conversations started becoming very clear that we needed to stop, reduce our reliance on outside sponsors. And in fact, other districts are doing it. And so we are very excited to explore that possibility to become our own sponsor.
Thank you very much. I think the answer is always because we've always done it that way, which is what we tend to say, right? We've always done it that way. And I'm not sure why we answer that way up here, but
you're used to
you're right to think ahead and think outside the box and fix that. Also sorry, I feel like I'm a kindergartner learning how to use something down here. Also, in reference to some of the issues that some of the teachers have within the classrooms, do they actually have a partner or a mentor teacher right there in the classroom or school with them, maybe a next door teacher or something?
Yeah, you want to know how
It
they're
varies
working on the
school by
ground.
school. A lot of the principals are very supportive of our J1 teachers and they do offer that mentorship. But as Grant indicated, we're starting something more formal through PEF. Also, one of our sponsors has also assign mentors to the new teachers coming in, mostly for things external to CCSD, helping them acclimate to the city, helping them get.
You've got that grant funded stuff going on.
Airport.
You're
But all
helping.
of that works together to make them
Yes, right. You've
successful
got
in,
grants.
like outside classroom
people to
support
do
and
that.
inside classroom support. So
Real.
we have started that partnership with PEF, and I think it's going to be very
Yeah,
successful.
that's a
You do state your name for the record.
Sure, it's Debbie Schwartz with CCSD International, Associate International Recruiter.
Thank you. And just every time you speak, just a reminder to state your name. It just makes it easier for our minutes and the record.
Understood.
Thanks.
First time.
You're doing great. Okay, we will stay here in Las Vegas and go to Senator Lane.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for CCSD and Assemblywoman Motska, and it's about the agency fees for J1 visas. Both of you mentioned that in your presentation. One of the things that my constituents talk to me about are the fees, the excessive fees. It's almost like a racket to me.
It is.
And so I'm happy to hear that CCSD is looking at ways that they can help make those fees less for the teachers, because we are in a situation where we don't have teachers, we need teachers. And then to get them here, they are having to pay these fees that what I heard in the first presentation from Assemblywoman Motska and her team is that they go home and they still have fees to pay. And I think that's so totally wrong. And so I'm wondering what we can do is there a way to bypass the agency and work directly with the teacher so that we don't have to have those fees?
Berlin Triana for the record. That is exactly what will happen once the district can become our own sponsor. Those
What?
fees would be greatly
You're not
reduced
your own
and
sponsor.
save the candidate that money.
And I would add, that's why I think it was so important. We heard from the Mineral County Superintendent earlier today because they've already done that. So we do have a successful example in the state.
And that was Assemblywoman Mosca for the record.
And can I do a follow-up, please? And so how long will it take to implement this?
How are you going to measure the maintenance of
Debbie
effort?
Schwartz for the record. I can tell you at this time, we don't know because
You
this
don't
is
know
sort
now?
of an unknown thing for us.
Oh.
Sponsors I've talked to in the past, it can take a couple of years before the Department of State grants designation. What they have to check is that you have the capacity to run a program. Do you have sufficient staffing? Do you have sufficient funding? Do you understand how the program works? So it's basically starting with an application and then waiting for the Department of State to assess and determine whether we could become a designated sponsor.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will go to Carson City. I know Assemblywoman Anderson, you have a question for CCSD and for Assemblywoman Mosca, I believe. So
Thank
please
you.
go ahead,
That-
Rennie.
Thank you, Chair. I have so many questions, but I was wondering if possibly Assemblymember Koenig could possibly go first, if that's appropriate for you, but I also understand if not.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely fine. Nice.
Because
to
then
see
I'll
you,
take over.
Assemblywoman Koenig.
Yes, good to see you, Madam Chair. Education is one of my passions, and I've been stuck sitting on government affairs all interim. So it's good to be where I feel a little more comfortable. I'm just the fill-in, and so my question was pretty much mirrors what Senator Lang asked. I was wondering when she was listing off all of her fees that she had, there was the $5,000 agency fee, and yeah, it just doesn't seem right to me either. It's, I don't know, sounds like a coyote or something. Just you have to have $5,000 before you even enter the process. So I was wondering what that was, and I think some of those were answered. And so my question was already pretty much asked. So I will yield the floor to Assemblywoman Anderson, who has multiple questions.
Sorry about
Okay,
that.
so Assemblywoman Anderson, bite at the apple. We'll start with ask your questions for CCSD and Assemblywoman Mosca. And before we leave, are there any other questions for those two? Okay, so go for it.
Thank you. And thank you, Chair. I think Assemblymember Koenig, even though he had asked to go next, had kind of brought up the big thing. So I'm looking at for Clark County School District's items where they say the low cost nonprofit sponsors. I'm wondering about the process that's currently being utilized because even if Clark County School District is able to get the sponsorship,
They're paying them.
in some point, is there only certain I guess sponsorship corporations, nonprofits, whatever the case may be,
They're paying
that
them.
Clark County at this time is able to enter into agreements with? And then also do those
MOUs.
corporation, are they nonprofit corporations? Are they organizations? How much is Clark County having to play on their own?
Yeah, let's.
In addition to what
understand.
the
Oh, no.
the incredible educators are having to pay as well.
Hi, Debbie Schwartz for the record. I think I heard 3 questions. I remember 2 of them, so you might have to reiterate one. So we will do business with any sponsor that has a no objection letter. There's a process through the Nevada Department of Education where you have to get this no objection letter in order to do business in Nevada. We normally don't turn anyone away if they want to sponsor someone in our school. As far as the The low cost, yeah, the nonprofit. So yeah, there are different types of sponsorship agencies. Some are completely non-for-profit, and those are the ones that normally charge the least. There are some that are for profit, and those are probably the ones that are going to charge the most. For the majority, they are for-profit agencies. It costs about $4,000 to apply for an application to be a sponsor, and they push most of those costs
Mhm.
onto the teacher. For example, to renew a
That's
visa
right.
each year, it costs
It's a harvest
the Department of State.
and it's
charges
not
around
even benefiting the
$100.
children. This is
The
insanity.
teacher around $700. So they upcharge just about everything.
Yeah.
And so that's why if we were the designated sponsor, those costs we wouldn't pass those costs on to the teacher. It would be what the cost is per the Department of State. And if you could reiterate what your third question was, I'm sorry.
I totally understand because that was a rambly question. So I appreciate you being able to answer those too. And the last one is how much though does the district have to pay? So in addition to the application that the sponsor the teachers have to pay, is there anything that the Clark County School District needs to pay as well to work with any of these organizations?
Unfortunately, we don't. All the cost is passed on to the teacher.
Thank you for that clarification. And then my other question actually has to do with possibly Assemblymember Mosca as well as you. Are the educators covered by the same collective bargaining agreement, or do they have a different collective bargaining agreement based upon the process of how they have been hired?
Yeah, let's all understand this.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Mosca. For the record, it's my belief that they are covered under the same. Actually, I know CCEA, this is one of their big issues they've been supporting with. They have a meet and greet with the J1 teachers next weekend. And then I know when I also talked to NSEA, they were very supportive of what was happening in Mineral County.
Thank you so much for that, because that's what I thought as well, but I just wanted to double check it. Because that actually, if you're comfortable for me to go into the next question, Chair, I was going to ask Tina from PERS this very question as well. Because I believe the PERS is part of that CBA. So has there been discussion to possibly try to do something around an MOU or memorandum of understanding based upon the different hiring in this very specific case?
They haven't done anything in order to save
Yeah,
themselves. They just were
let's-
shelling out money here. That's what it's
No
all about.
portion of the retirement benefit is bargained for under a collective bargaining agreement. Because of the cost sharing plan, all of the benefits are set forth in statute and they're the same across.
It's just the way you've
all
always
public
done
employers,
it.
employees. The only thing potentially that can be bargained is how a contribution rate increase is paid, how the employee's portion is paid. So hopefully that answered the question that no, I do not believe anything could happen through any sort of collective bargaining agreement. Any change would have to be statutory. And again, I believe that it would need to be for all members. It couldn't be for a specified a subset of members because of the cost sharing nature of the plan.
Thank you so much for that clarification. That's what was kind of in the back of my mind, but you voiced it so much better than I possibly could. So thank you very much for making that clear, that the cost sharing does not allow us to say, well, this group that might have been a TFA, Teach for America hire, is not exempt from actually also investing in the PERS situation. So thank you so much for making that clear. Do you wish me to continue, Chair, or do you want to give the bite of the apple to somebody else for a second?
So I know Assemblywoman Hanson has a question, and why don't you ask that question and we'll see who wants to come up and answer that, because I think for right now, CCSD, you guys can step back for a moment. Go ahead.
Hello, thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. Thank you all for being here. I just wanted, I'm not sure exactly who to direct it to, but we're talking about these fees that $5,000 figure was thrown out from our understanding what some of the Mineral County people have had to deal with the J1 visa. Can someone define what we mean by agent? They have to pay, say, this $5,000 to an agent.
Nothing, I'm just,
Could you give us a
I'm
real life
recruiting
example? I mean, it's not the State Department, I wouldn't assume.
the teachers are having a meeting.
Is it some third party
regards
system
to-
that
I mean,
is
the state is having a meeting with
facilitating
university quality.
paperwork for these J1 visa holders? So we can understand who we're talking about when it comes to an agent.
Debbie Schwartz for the record. I'm not sure if you're referring to a recruitment agency or the actual sponsor. So there are recruitment agencies that will charge them around $2,000 to $5,000 in exchange for helping them find placement. And that was one of the big reasons why we no longer require that, because we can place these teachers on our own. We don't need this third party to help us find candidates and to help us place. So I don't know if that's the fee, but that has been waived. People do not have to pay that fee anymore. But there are fees that go to the sponsor each year to be in the program. And then there's certain fees depending upon if they're going to renew or if they have to transfer. Some of those fees are set by the Department of State. Anytime someone's DS 2019 form is changed, there's a fee to change that form. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but it just depends on who's charging the fee. If it's the recruitment agency, we're not doing that anymore. If it's the Department of State, those are things that can't be waived.
I'm gonna, I think I know what you're asking, Assemblywoman, because not only was the figure 5,000 thrown out, somebody threw out a $30,000 number. So who are, I guess that's what we're asking, these like for-profit, are they're located in the country of origin, I assume, or they are here in the United States. They're a company that this is their model. This is how this is capitalism at its finest, you know.
That is it in a nutshell. This is capitalism at its finest.
Okay, so I guess the feeling from the committee, from what I'm seeing, is we are in a dire straits for teachers. We need teachers. We haven't had the right number since 1994 here in CCSD. So what can we do legislatively to assist that teachers aren't going into debt before they even arrive on American soil to come and teach our kids that we so desperately need? So I think we're all in agreement that we need to do something. So what that looks like, we will continue to have those conversations very quickly, because as I mentioned, we are taking those recommendations, and this is, I think, something that the committee wants to move forward on to make this path a lot easier. So I thank you guys all for coming. I know there's going to be more questions, so you can sit here for a second and see if you have to run back, but we will go back to Carson City. I'm going to go to Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch. I believe you have a question for NDE. Is that correct?
That is correct. Thank you, Chair. So my question is specifically on the background checks that NDE is performing for licensure. I know that one concern that is expressed by teachers quite often is they pay this $40 to get a background check through the state, and then to get hired at a district, they then get fingerprinted and background checked again and pay an additional fee. And for teachers that just spent 6 months teaching for free in their internship, they don't have all that extra funds to spare. And so my question is, what can be done so that there's just one background check that is shared with whatever district they're applying to, so they don't have to do this over and over again?
Thank you for the question, Jeff Risky, NDE for the record. Regarding our background checks of $40.25, that is a fee that the Department of Public Safety charges us, and that is included in the initial licensing fee of $180. We're still doing the research, and I knew this question was going to come up. And yesterday, when I checked in with our backgrounds unit, I believe all but 2 districts take our background check, and they do not do a second background check. I believe there are 2, maybe 3 districts that do an additional employment background check.
So Chair, if I may, the natural follow-up is what are those 2 or maybe 3 districts, if you know?
Please correct me if I'm wrong, if those districts are here, but I believe Clark and Washoe for sure, and I'm not sure about the third one. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So we will go back to Assemblywoman Anderson.
Thank you so much. And why don't I just stick with NDE? And so that way, I only have 17 questions. I only have one question. And it's actually for Catherine Galland Collins, who, yay, I can see you're coming on up. So 9 counties are using the teacher exit survey. Of those 9, number 1, which ones are they, if you can remember? And number 2, how is that being utilized? Is that possibly bringing forward changes to legislation recommendations, or is that being utilized more at a district level to make changes to possible policies that they might have?
So Kathleen Gallen Collins to the record. I don't have all 9 of them memorized, but I can tell you Washoe's on the list, Elko's on the list, Carson, and then we have some other smaller districts. We don't yet have Clark, but we are talking with them. AIR is in conversation with Clark. So it is voluntary at this point. The exit transfer survey is voluntary. They work with AIR and they get the teachers directly to AIR. They take the survey from AIR. And that right now the data is used internally. It's shared, we make sure it has the N size of 10 before we share anything out. It's still in the beginning stages right now. We have, on the most recent information that I have, we have about 300 teachers that have taken the exit transfer survey right now. And that data is, we're still building out the public data dashboard that will be used with that. Once those N sizes are met, it'll be shared publicly. We'll be able to know what are the top reasons for leaving, what would have made them to say. Those kinds of information will be shared along with the plan is to have conversations with each of these districts as well about that data to see what could be addressed.
Thank you so
Does that
much.
answer your question?
It does, because and it's always good to see you, by the way. Because I'll just put it out there. I have many friends of mine who are naturally getting to that point when it's time to retire. And I have been pushing them to take the surveys because I do work in a district that has it. And I hear overwhelmingly why nothing's going to happen with it. Why should I take the time to do so? So I think if we could have that clarified as to what is the possibility of how this information could be utilized, it might help us. Because at this point, the majority that are taking it are probably taking it because they're really angry about something. I mean, I hate to be that realistic, but sometimes you got to be in education. So just want to put that out there. And then my other question actually has to do, it does have to do with Director Brisky. You mentioned often about J1 as well as other items, and I'm looking through the licensed personnel list. There's some pretty significant other jobs that we have in education, and we continue to concentrate on teaching, which I agree with. But do we also utilize J1 or other licensures when it comes to counseling, speech pathologist? So many of our other licensed personnels that we are severely understaffed at this time? Or is it only teachers that the special licensures can be utilized in this way?
Thank you for the question, Jeff Brisky, ND, for the record. I have not seen any applications come across our system for other licensed personnel besides teachers at this time. I'm not sure if those sponsors recruit other licensed personnel or if they just simply stick to teachers.
Thank you so much for that clarification, because I think many times we'll say teachers and people will assume it's all education. So thank you so much for that clarification. And then my last question is for Assemblymember Mosca, if I may bring her back up, as well as her, the individual that was with Assemblymember Mosca, who did such a great job. You had mentioned housing during your presentation. is that housing also something that you pay for, or is that something that's also part of the agency that you work through? Are they the ones that find that housing? How exactly does that process work? Because that's another large thing that we have to be aware of is housing and how that's working for our educators.
Jemima Cancino for the record. It is arranged as well by the agency where we applied for. And we have to pay for 2 months, even we're not here yet in Nevada.
So you pay for the first 2 months. Do you receive that money back when you leave? Or is it just, this is a housing deposit, get over it?
That is housing deposit. Applicable for July. Let's say, for example, the first month is applicable for July, even if we are not yet here. So the month of July is already paid, even if we came here in August or in other date.
And Assemblywoman Mosca, for the record, thank you for the question, Assembly Member, because it also brings up, so part of it is that this experience is to that agency. So different agencies do it differently. You know, some of the horror stories we hear from folks are there are 3 people living in a room that are then charged a full rate. So I'm glad that that's not your experience, but that's the experience I've heard from other constituents, that it's not a cost sharing. And so from my perspective, just having standards, I think could help alleviate some of this so that no matter if you're a for-profit agency or a nonprofit agency, there are some standards we have as a state when it comes to this.
Thank you for that clarification. And I'm going to speak right now for all 4 of us that are here in Carson. All 4 of us were just shocked by that, as well as the transportation item that was also brought up. And thank you so much. Let's try to work together on getting something forward. Thank you, Chair, for that much time.
Thank you. And then we will go to Senator Dondero Loop.
Thank you very much. And Assemblywoman, if you'll just stay for 1 minute. Are J1 teachers in all of our counties or just Clark and Mineral? Or can you give sort of a overview on that?
Assemblymember Mosca, for the record, I don't know exactly, but I do know when I asked that it's more than Mineral and Clark. I'm not sure if NDE may know, but it's not just those 2 counties.
And so then follow up on that are the issues maybe not Mineral because they only have 2, but are the issues across the board? That might be one thing that we want to find out moving forward. If the issues are the same across the board, or if they're different in different counties, how can we make them better by learning from those other counties?
Assemblymember Mosca, for the record, I agree.
I'm very concerned about the 2-year rollover. It's the same concerns I used to have with Teach for America. You know, when people come in for only 2 years in a teaching role, I taught for a whole lot of years and I mentored teachers, and you just cannot be your best self in 2 years. You just can't do it, especially because of the way we don't do it for 365 days. So if you don't stay more than 2 years, you really don't know if you like it, if you should be there, if you're your best self, in my opinion. So it goes back to the unconsciously unskilled, levels. So thank you very much. And then I have some questions.
I was going to say, I know on Zoom, Mineral County wanted to answer that question as well.
Oh,
so
perfect.
We'll note it.
Thank you.
Zoom.
Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, Mineral County does have 25% of our teaching staff who are J1 visa teachers. Just for clarification, so we have gone through a lot. And Stephanie Huey for the record.
Yeah, and this is Claire Havers for the record, and I just want everybody to be informed that, you know, it's very possible for a J1 visa teacher to be employed in our district without an agent. Okay, so because as a J1 visa applicant, they have to pay if they choose to go through an agent, then they have to pay that $5,000 or over. Also, that is in addition to what they pay for their visa sponsors. So, but I just want you to know that it is very possible to hire J1 without an agent. Because we did it this year.
I just absolutely love that Hawthorne figured this out. So thank you very much. That warms my heart. For those of you that don't know, my father was born and raised in Hawthorne, and I spent many a summer there. So go Serpents. So I have some questions for public ed, if you don't mind.
Sure. So thank you very much, Mineral County, for clarifying that. And yeah, that number 2 was that they only have 2 vacancies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
pretty impressive.
It's all very wonderful. So
Okay, so go ahead.
thank you. Thank you very much. So for you, Mr. Hannavold, if you could answer, can you kind of give some specifics on this mentoring piece that you're putting together? And the reason I think this is so important is because this is where we start to touch kids. So we want to take care of the J1 visas. We want to help the teachers get here without paying $30,000 out of their pocket. But the truth of the matter is, once they get here, we need to know how and what this is going to look like, and what supports will this professional development and structured framework look like, if you will.
How are you measuring the
Can you
impact?
give any details on that? And I was on the No Time to Lose international study group, and what America's education looks like is very different from the Philippines or other parts of the world. So if you can give some information on that mentoring and how we can bring those teachers full circle so that they can be their best selves in front of our kids.
Madam Chair, to Senator Don Darrow. Grant Hannibal for the record. That's a great question. This is our pilot year working the program. So we have done mentoring for the last 3 years with our paraprofessionals. And what we've done is we've assigned them to a veteran teacher working in the classroom, and it's their go-to person for any and all questions related to classroom management, navigating the bureaucracy that is CCSD or the Department of Education. So when we inquired about assisting with the J1 visa program, we essentially talked to, there was a needs assessment conducted, and the district shared that data with us. And we actually built a mentoring plan. We have a software program that we use, and we actually built a mentoring plan around helping them navigate the issues that previous J1 teachers had identified were potential barriers for them. Some of that was instructionally related. Some of that was just navigating the systems that they have to navigate to solve these problems. Some of it was understanding our local community and doing the cultural projects that they have to do, and the presentations and the peer projects that they have to do as part of their requirement as a J1 visa teacher. So we essentially have hired 15 4th and 5th year J1 teachers. So teachers that have been here for 5 years, we had 60 or more people apply for the position. We've edited it down to 15 mentors that will then work with our new J1 visa teachers and provide that wraparound support. And like I said before, we also provide access to online resources. We provide guides on demand. We provide weekly office hours, and we work really closely with the district's onboarding and professional development because they have their own mentoring programs that are available to all new teachers. But our J1 teachers aren't necessarily new teachers. They're coming in here with a wealth of experience from their home countries, so they're not considered new teachers.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate that answer. And I appreciate that when they come, they have problems navigating, the Clark County School District or Washoe County School District. I appreciate all that. I mean, we all may have those issues, right? I mean, those may not even be J1 issues, but I'm more worried. I'm trying to get to kids we've got kids in front of us. So what I want to know is you have 4th and 5th year teachers mentoring, but then they're out of here. So there's no continuance, there's no transition. So what are we doing? And I'm not saying these teachers aren't capable. I'm just saying they need help in the classroom. We heard they had, classroom management issues. They had maybe language issues. They had curriculum issues. Who's helping them with those things so that when they're in front of kids, because if it's a 4th or 5th year J1 teacher, then they're gone. Who's next? So and I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. But I feel like we need to have somebody who can marry them into this American education process, right? And help them with our education system so that they can be the best selves while they're here. That doesn't take that 4th and 5th year J1 person out of that. That just adds somebody who is here that can be that continuum when that J1 teacher may leave, because if they can only be here 5 years, they're gone. So that's what I'm looking at, trying to blend that so that we don't start here and then have this puddle and then we find somebody else.
Madam Chair, to Marilyn Dondero Loop, Grant Hannibal for the record. I think you bring up a really, really good point. And I think we are in our pilot year. The expectation we had this year is that we were going to utilize 4th and 5th year J1 teachers as mentors for the new teachers, because we felt there would be that natural connection to what it's like to be coming into this for the very, very first time, and to harness the experience they've gleaned over the last 3 or 4 years to help the new teachers coming in under the J1 program. We did not sign on to only help 1st year J1. It just happens to be this is the 1st year. Our commitment was to work with 1st, 2nd, and 3rd year J1 teachers. And I think to your point, true, the mentors that we have working with them this year in their 4th and 5th year are going to leave. And we're going to have a 2nd year J1 teacher that is going to still need mentoring and support for all of those areas you identified. And perhaps moving forward, when we get to 2nd year mentorship, maybe that would be an opportune time to bridge to a mentor teacher that is, an American citizen or somebody who's been with the district for a number of years. So that person would then have that experience of not only being initially mentored by someone potentially from their home country, but then in the years to follow to have mentorship provided by another veteran teacher in the Clark County School District.
So I understand that. I just hope, I always say I don't know everything, but I know just enough to be dangerous. And I spent a lot of time in the school district mentoring teachers. I spent time training teachers outside of the school district after I left. And I know one thing's for sure, and that is consistency in having mentors, consistency in professional development, consistency and support is never the wrong path. I will tell you that 100%. I hope that we continue to work on this plan. This is July, actually, basically August 1st. And I'm very, very concerned that we have teachers that don't really, we're working on the plan and I get it takes time. I so appreciate that you're working hard. I just would encourage, I guess, anybody in this room that's working on this. Like I said, I don't know everything, but I know just a few things out there in this brain of mine that have worked along the way. And I do believe that consistency and partnerships and making sure that they have support in that classroom is what matters. Because at the end of the day, if we're not successful with the kids, it doesn't matter because they're leaving in 5 years. And so we have to have them successful for the 5 years they're here.
Thank you, Senator. And if you'll stay, we have a question from Senator Lang for you.
Thank you. I just have a quick question about the mentors. And I think that we ask our teachers to do a lot. And I'm curious if we are offering a stipend to teachers that are mentors.
Madam Chair, Senator Lang, this is Grant Hannibal for the record. Yes, we do provide funding, and we have received philanthropic donations to assist with those costs.
Thank you, Chair. Assemblywoman Mossy, for the record, I just want to say to the previous question too, that if we become an H-1B visa sponsor, teachers can stay past 5 years, and that they say over and over again, if they could stay, they would stay in Nevada. Las Vegas is their home. They love it here. So that's also part of the discussion.
Thank you. And thank you for giving us examples of other municipalities and states that have done that. So we're not having to reinvent the wheel when we bring forward this legislation. Mineral County, I know you had raised your hand.
Yes, go ahead. Sorry, Stephanie Huey for the record. In Mineral County, what we did this year is we created a J1 visa mentor position. So we wrote a job description specifically around the process to onboard our J1 visa teachers and to help support them. And Claire Hayhurst is actually our J1 visa mentor. So she meets with our teachers. She helps them through the process of hiring, helps them through the application process, helps them through the interview process. And then she helps them, well, we're small. She picks them up at the airport. She brings them home. She helps them learn how to get their driver's license, their social security number, and walks them through every single step. She also has regular meetings with all of our District J1 visa teachers to help them navigate the cultural changes, the emotions from being away from their families, and curriculum issues, the differences in the students that they're teaching here versus at home in the Philippines. And just really wanted to share that with you. She is from the Philippines, so she did teach in the Philippines. She's a US citizen now. So, for other districts looking on how to do that, I think that what we're doing right now in Mineral is very beneficial for our teachers.
Well, thank you, but now you're just bragging.
Yeah.
I kid. Great job. Assemblywoman Moscow, do you know how many J1 teachers there are in Clark County currently? You're on the spot, so.
It's around, Assemblywoman Mossy, it's around 100-ish. I know there was a slide before too that had that in.
Okay, we'll go back. Thank you. Okay, so we are going to move on to the next agenda item. Thank you so much for being here and spending part of your morning with us. We'll now go to agenda item 5. We'll hear from stakeholders on teacher workload to gain a better picture of the workload requirements that our teachers face. First, we are fortunate enough to hear from several teachers who will speak about their own experiences. We know it's summer, so we want to thank you for taking one of your final days off to be here with our committee to discuss your workload. Your voices are valuable, and we want to ensure that you are part of this conversation. Additionally, thank you everyone who helped coordinate this presentation. To discuss the workload from a teacher perspective, we have Grace Angel, Eden Galito, and Angie Joy, who are teachers with CCSD. Again, thank you for being here on one of your last days but it's nice and cool in here at least, right? So thank you very much, and begin when you're ready. We have technical assistance coming to help. So when you press the button, it will go, and just reminder to everyone to identify yourself. It just makes it so much easier for our secretaries to get those minutes down. Thank you.
Good morning, Committee Chairman Bill Bray, Axelrod, and committee members. For the record, my name is Eden Galido. I am a proud member of CCEA, and I have been teaching for 39 years, 21 years from the Philippines, 11 years in Louisiana, and 7 years in Clark County School District. I teach mathematics at Valley High School in the center of Las Vegas, which is a Title I high school. I'm sure that throughout your time in the legislature, you have heard about the ever-expanding teacher workload impacting our profession. To this point, Senate Bill 72 required an analysis of teacher workload issues within the state of Nevada. To begin, I would like to take a moment to define the components of teacher workload. Teacher workload include 5 components, which are broad categories that represent many tasks within them. The first one is feedback, curriculum planning, data and academics, communication, and managing changes. My colleagues and I will present to you an analysis of teacher workload through a teacher's lens. We will be focusing on the redundant requirements, inefficient mandated processes, and the need to prioritize instructional time for students, sharing observations and experiences that impact teacher workload to the extent that impedes what is most important, establishing a learning environment that supports the success of every student. There are aspects of teacher workload that pull us away from working with students, resulting in the reduction of instructional time and consequently lowering student achievement. For example, layers of assessments are required at the state, district, and school levels, and students are asked to complete school or district assessments to help them prepare for their state assessments. In my school alone, the district requires us to have students complete exact path for 10 minutes out of every 15 minutes class period. This takes away 1 hour or.
And I'm going to stop it right here because what you need to understand is that every state got to select the assessment tools that they would utilize to demonstrate that they were making a maintenance of effort, meaning that the children who they were supposed to benefit is working. It's unfortunate that they're using the teacher pipeline program, the one that they have, with the A1 visas, to come over here and demonstrate what's happening here in America to, let me stop the share because it's pissing me off. To demonstrate what's happening here in America that would actually demonstrate that the children are benefiting, because they are not. So we are at the bottom or the top. Doesn't matter. It is time for a conversation, and it's time to understand, is what's happening here in America benefiting all people? And unfortunately, as an African American, we do not have the same equal access, and equal access is key, because adequately measuring the maintenance of effort, ensuring that it is benefiting everyone is key. So they have all this stuff that they've thrown together to try to demonstrate that they're doing something worthy, that's worldwide, helping the growth and development for the world. But when they come back to the local students, we don't have any data. And then you're going to have your teachers up here talking about how it's a burdensome to demonstrate that whatever they're doing is working. They should have picked things that they knew were going to work in the first place. Failure is not an option in 2024. And so I'll say until we meet again, like, share, and do what? You see how they play games, because down here I'm supposed to be able to share and go live, and I cannot because it does not an option. But when you pay for shit, that shit is supposed to work just like they're saying it's supposed to work. And this shit is not working because other people have the ability to do what? Be mischievous. And I don't like mischievous. So until we meet again, I'll make sure that I can share the live on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch, but wherever we're going to be sharing the live. But you'll have to wait so I can upload this one on Spotify or Riverside or whatever. Y'all have a blessed day now.